All right, everyone, and welcome back to Roadmap to College, um, the Financial Aid Part 2. My name is LaToya Sloan-McGraw, and I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Rho Omega chapter. And I have once again the distinct pleasure of having one of my special friends and sisters all in one, Miss Christina Brown, here with us today to talk about that financial aid. And just to let y'all know how much of an expert she is, let me remind you, she is the financial aid coordinator at Houston Community College in Houston, Texas. Also, she is a member of Xi Alpha Omega chapter, also located in Houston, Texas. She's
Yeah.
a proud mom of two beautiful young ladies and just a great all around person. So I'm glad to have her in my life for a lifetime. If you guys would please once again welcome Miss Christina Brown. Woo.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. So since the last episode of Roadmap to College, I had a few questions that was sent my way. And so previously we talked about we would discuss the different ways of funding um for college. In this episode, I decided to give this episode a nickname. And so this
Okay,
episode is going to be called When I Get My Financial Award Letter.
okay.
Sometimes when we get that award letter, we wondering like, huh? What is this? Why do I owe this? Do they have more money? Does the school not give more? And so sometimes we get people that's aglow because their kids got those full rides, or you get those parents who are looking at it like, I don't know if I can afford this. So
Mhm.
with that being said, um, we're going to talk about what happens when we get that financial award letter from the different universities or colleges. And so, with that being said, let's kind of go into this two ways. We're going to tackle it as we talk about the different grants and different types of funding. And my first question was, this year we had COVID year, and I am a college mom, proud college mom as well. Um, and you are too.
Yes.
So, with that being said, we actually know that this year they gave money to the college students for COVID. So, my first question is one, did every kid get that money? Two, what was that money used for, or how did the students have to use it? And three, will that money be given again this upcoming school year?
Okay. So the funding that you was that you've been referencing is considered the HERF funds, and it was provided to the institutions because of the COVID and the pandemic. And a lot of students were having hardships, or they was not able to work. They was going to end up having to withdraw from school because of financial reasons. And it also assisted a lot of the students with technology because of the fact that everything went online. A lot of students didn't have technology at home. So because of that, they provided funding to the students and institutions to help out with that. Now, what they had to do in order to mostly it wasn't just financial aid students that received the aid, but for the most part, it were students that applied for federal funding, that had completed the FAFSA application. So those students were the priority and the first ones that got the funding. Then they changed up the rules and the regulations a little bit, which allowed us to be able to award more students. Now, the student the funding has not been determined that we will be continuing this process. So it probably is going to go away. So many students did get additional money throughout the year to help with the cost of, like I said, tuition, books. It also, because books went online, it helped with that. Computers, because of the fact that a lot of people, most colleges were no longer in person, so they had to transition to being able to do their coursework on computers on a regular basis. So that funding was to be able to cover that. And it helped, it tremendously helped a lot of students. It helped with some of the students that were needing financial assistance for housing, for various other things. It just basically was some funding that the government felt, because they weren't able, a lot of the students didn't get the stimulus money. So, and parents were not able to get the stimulus money for the students. So that was the way that they was provided additional funding, was through those colleges.
Okay. And so I brought that up because my son actually, was allowed to get his. And so
Mhm.
I know going back into this year, because he got it for semester one and semester two, he was wondering would he be getting it next year. So I'm glad to know that um, it's not guaranteed. It was a temporary, um, it was temporary support from the federal
Right.
government to our students. So I really do
Mhm.
appreciate those funds, because they did come in handy um, during this during this my son's first year.
Mhm.
So now, with that being said, I want to get that out there, because I know if you're a parent who already has a college student, you was wondering that,
Right.
because some people are looking at every penny counts. So
Mhm.
let's talk about that financial aid award letter.
Okay.
So after students apply to college, the next
Mhm.
process is the financial aid process, and that's to guarantee the funding for the student to attend the university for a year. That's not the
Mhm.
funding for every year, it's only for a year. And
Right.
so, with that being said, some of the parents are a little nervous um, when they're waiting on getting that award letter back in because of their taxes. So I want to go one other spot that when you and I talked previously, um, kind of as we prepared for this, we talked about some the upcoming year. You're using taxes from 2019. So some parents during this pandemic have
Mhm.
been laid off and whatnot. So when they first get that financial aid letter, it could be based on income that was much higher in 2019, but now they don't have that
For
income in
2020.
2020 because they may have been furloughed or laid off from their position. So would you explain what process they could go through to amend their or appeal their financial aid award letter?
So most colleges have it's they have an appeal process for, it's called special circumstance. And so what happens is it allows you to be able to say that, hey, my financial situation has changed dramatically, and here is the documentation to show that it is, which allows the college to go back in and on your behalf to go in and make adjustments necessary to your um, AGI, your um,
And that's annual
ages.
gross income, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
your adjusted gross income.
Just
So because of the information that you're able to provide, that allows us to make adjustments to your income. And that's not just with the pandemic. So please understand that, say for instance, if anything happens financially, where it is a difference, you can go back into the financial aid office to see if there are measures to get that adjusted. Now, it's not guaranteed, it's not always approved. Let me just tell you that it is not always approved, but it is always a way for you to see if there's additional funding that you're eligible for.
okay. So in some situations, I'm just gonna give, examples of circumstances, you know.
Okay.
So say if your parents got a divorce, and so that
Mhm.
income in that household went from a two-party income to a one-party income. That is extenuating circumstances, correct?
That it can be, but again, you're gonna necessarily what would be the best thing to do, because who the person that you're living in the household with maybe the breadwinner. So the best thing to do is to go ahead and fill out the documentation and see whether it will make a difference or not. So depending on who's in the household or whose income is the highest, it may make a difference, then it may not. But I would tell you one major circumstance that you could definitely look into is, say for instance, medical bills. So say for instance your medical expenses has changed throughout the year, or your mother or whoever in the family. Say for instance you have a family member that's in the household that's income that is a part of that has a big bearing on your income. That would definitely be a reason to do a special circumstance, or request for a special circumstance. I do want to again say that it's not always guaranteed, but it's definitely a way for you to see it. Don't I was always told that don't nothing hurt but to try. You can't. Only thing they can tell you is no, and that's still not final at some
Right.
point. So definitely, for special circumstances, please, make sure look at the forms that they have, because each school do have a different criteria. So look at the form and see what the different criteria is that they are asking, or the different documentation that they may be asking. One of the things I do want you to know and to say is, make sure you fill out the forms in its entirety. If it has a spot there, make sure you answer the spot. If it's NA, put NA. If it's zero, put zero. Make sure you complete the form to its entirety and provide all the documentation. That way you have the better chance of being approved versus denied.
Okay. So thank you. And the reason why I wanted to put that out there, I don't think that there are many parents who are aware that you can appeal your financial award letter if you feel that the amounts are not fair. And so I am aware, like, and I'm not for sure if they do it anymore. So I am asking at the same time. Previously, in past years, if you had a baby, you at that point can be considered an independent student. Is that still in place?
You have to provide more than 50% for that child. So as long as you're supporting that child more than 50%, then yes.
Okay.
If you have a child, you're considered an independent student, and at that point, all income is based on what you earn.
Okay. Um, what about if a student become homeless? And I'm putting these scenarios out here because I've had to deal with it as a counselor myself, and so I want people to kind of to understand, what falls within these lines. So what about if you had a student that was homeless?
As far as student that is homeless, so I would tell that person to go ahead and get in contact with the business office because there's waivers. Okay, so and when I say waivers, those are also ways of reducing the cost of the tuition. So that is not necessarily handled in the financial aid office, but it's definitely has an impact on what, yeah, how much as far as your tuition is concerned. So one of the things I would definitely tell you is to make sure that as a student, as a homeless student, um, make sure that your counselor is talking to the people at the college, providing the necessary documentation that needs to go on your file, so that way that you are provided or allowed all of the perks. Well, not so much as perks, sorry.
But they're
Let me fix that. um um so that you can make sure that you get all of the
financial
trying to say,
opportunities available to you.
that's right, yeah, financial opportunities.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. We and I know you said perks, and I know you're trying to, and that's that financial aid coordinator in you. But I mean, that's the sometimes that's the benefit of the difference in incomes.
right,
It
yeah,
does
it's
seem like,
definitely it is.
yeah, it can feel that way sometimes that it's a perk. So
Yeah, it's a. I mean, it's what it is. It's an opportunity. That's basically what it is. Let's definitely say it's an opportunity for you to go to school at a reduced rate because of your circumstance. So not so much as a perk, but definitely an opportunity. The opportunity to get a leg up, an opportunity to excel past what you've been through.
exactly, great way to say that. Great say. All right. So ways of funding. So normally when you get a financial aid letter, it's broken down based on from loans, Pell Grant. It shows all the money that you're getting from the school, from the federal government. It shows if you're receiving an athletic scholarship or if you're receiving an academic scholarship, um, and it will have the cost for the student on there as well. And it's going to subtract all those amounts and then end with an amount that you're responsible for. And it says family financial responsibility is what it's called. And so with that being said, let's go into the ways of funding that will show on the award letter. So one of the things will show is called loans. So would you please go a little bit more in depth? There are three types of loans.
Hmm. Hmm.
Can you go into depth what they
Actually it's a different one. So it's three major. Let me say that.
are?
So
Okay.
you have the subsidized, which is the federal loan, and then you have the unsub. And the difference between those two right there is one, the subsidized, the government pay, you don't pay the interest on it until you get out of school. And then you have the unsub, where the interest start a lot earlier. Once the final disbursement has been made, then the interest starts on that. Um, and then you have your private loans. So you have private loans where that is based on credit. So the two that I discussed previously, the unsub and the subsidized, do not is not based on the credit for the student. Okay. Then you have a plus loan, which is a parent loan, which is based on the credit of the parent. So the student is only able to get so much of loans, and then if the parent has a pretty decent credit or good credit, then some of the funding will, as far as the loan is concerned, will be a part of theirs. Again, the private loans that not typically come from a bank, It comes from other lending institutions that specialize in educational loans, but it's for students and parents.
Okay. All righty. And then the private loan, like you say, is based on credit, and so um, is not guaranteed. Um,
It's not guaranteed. And another thing is that interest rate is typically a lot higher than what the norm is. But it also depends on, again, your credit rating too. So if you have good credit, then you can get a lower interest rate. But if your credit is not as good, then you typically on the higher scale of above a 17% interest rate.
okay. All right. So another thing that someone may see is federal grants. What are some of the things that falls under federal grants?
Pell Grant is one. So Pell Grant, and you have to fill out the FAFSA application for that, and it is based on various factors or equation that they come up with that depends on the income, the number of people in the household, various other inquisitions, to determine that EFC. And the EFC is the expected family contribution. So that just basically says that, oh, this is based on what you have as far as your income is concerned. This is about the amount of money that you as a family can contribute. Now, does that mean that you're actually going to have to come off that amount? No, but that's basically what they're saying. Financially, you're able to contribute.
Okay. All right. And so we have under that umbrella is Pell Grants. Now, does work study falls under that area as well?
Yeah, work study is a working grant, so it doesn't come to you all at one time. It's not like the Pell Grant. Pell Grant is awarded, and you get that in one lump sum. Work study, you have to earn it in order to receive the funds. So every week you clock in, and you go, and you'll be able to, based on the wages that are set at the institution, then you'll receive a check, or direct deposit, or sometimes they have a card, a cash pay card that your funds are uploaded to. So for my institution, we do it bi-weekly, but that is determined by the college as far as how you get paid. Some colleges do once a month, some of them do bi-weekly, some do it every other Friday. So that's something definitely you would need to look into at the colleges. But work study is an opportunity for you to um, gain experience. A lot of our students that we have work study, that have started out in work study, they actually have become full-time staff members or full-time um, people, employees at the institution now. So we had one of our work study students that started in our financial aid office, and currently now she is working as a financial aid advisor. So you have, because of the experience, you have opportunity to land in lucrative career fields. So I'll definitely tell anybody to take on that opportunity, because one, it allows you to get additional funds. Two, and it helps with your resume. It builds your resume, builds your networking. So definitely take our opportunity of it. Another thing that falls up under grants is the supplemental grant. So that's additional grant that's awarded to students. Depending on the college, is they can range anywhere from $200 up to additional $2,000, depending on the college or the institution. None of these numbers are actually, set in stone because again, it does depend on the institution that you're attending, and it also the term is based on the funding that the institution receives.
Okay. All right. Next, Texas grant, and the reason why I'm being very specific about the name of the grants is because there are two different segues. You have the federal, and then you have the state, and so those pieces, federal is pretty much the same, based on private or um, larger institute, but um, the other part is not. So if you would,
So the other part that you're talking about,
oh,
right, is the
state, yeah, the
Texas.
other part,
Yeah, the
state,
state.
and
Yes.
states are based on the different states. So Texas grants, will you please go into those for me?
So the coordinating board has broken down Texas grant into three different levels. So you have funds for the community college, which is TELG, and that could range anywhere from $828, and that is based on the number of hours that you enroll. So, depending on the hours that you enrolled, you could get 6 hours is $828. For 11 hours is $1241, and for 12 hours or more is $1655. So just think about that. That's a nice amount of funds for anybody. For one semester, depending on your number of hours that you enrolled in. So, and you can get that for fall, spring, and summer. Okay, so that's definitely one thing that's with TELG. Again, that's the community college level. Then you also have the private schools. They get TEG, and their funding is definitely a little bit less. And again, that funding has to do with the number of how much funding that the school actually gets. Then you have Texas Grant, which the Texas Grant, um, they are for a 4-year college. Okay, and their funding starts out at approximately $1,300 for 6 hours, and then it goes up based on the number of hours that the student is enrolled in. Now, you're not able to get these grants pass, like for like the community college, you only could be able to get it up to 75 hours. For 4-year college, for the Texas grant is up to 150 hours. So it's the number of years that you're in school. Essentially, it is covered during that time frame, but anytime past that, then you may have to appeal for funding or something of that nature. But it's definitely enough funding to be able to get you through the college level.
Okay. So just a quick review. We have loans, we have the federal grants, and
Hmm.
we have Texas grants.
Hmm.
So those are the main ones. Now that doesn't include scholarships.
Right.
Um, those monies from scholarships are extra funds.
Hmm.
Um, but I know we've ran into situations where students were receiving outside scholarships. Some of the students had full rides. And what the universities were doing when those scholarships came directly to the school, they took back some of the funding that they give to complete a full ride. And so I know some people look at a full ride as that I had to pay nothing. But even at every university, if you're receiving a full ride of any sort, you still have to fill out your financial aid because what they do to make it considered to be a full ride is that whatever your financial aid won't pay, then the university will pay for. And so it doesn't matter if you're on an academic scholarship or not, you have to complete financial aid of some sort.
Yeah. And then what they're getting ready to do, the they're asking all high schoolers in the state of Texas, before that to be a part of their graduation requirement to
Oh,
fill out the FAFSA application. And the reason being is because so many students are not provided funding in various ways because of not completing the FAFSA application. Um, and once it's a little bit more hands-on being on the high school level and having a counselor to assist you and walk you through it versus coming to the institution and we're not being able to help as many people as we do. We are able to help or walk through people based on appointment times and various things, but then you still have to weigh in the factor of the parents having to be there or the parents wanting to be there versus them being at the high school and they have a personal connection with that person that they've been there with for 4 years, and they walking them through the process. So one of the things is they're trying to get that to push through, that a lot of the high schoolers do the FAFSA application before leaving high school. One that allows us to, at the institutions, to be able to award more people more funding, and then also help those people that typically would never fill out the FAFSA application because they feel that they're not going to get any funding, and there's funds available. And but to circle back to what you were saying as far as the funding, what the institution typically does is when there is outside funding come in, we do reduce the funding that was originally there, and that's just so that we could be able to award another student that may be in a financial crisis versus you receiving outside funds from um, whatever institution or agency or organization that is assisting you to come take care of the financial burden uh, that you have you know you're seeking right now or you done walked into.
right. Well, I got one more question.
Okay,
All right.
one
So,
more.
um, a lot of people are wondering the cost of schools. So here's my question. Do all universities cost the same?
No. They do not. I'm gonna just say the reason one a lot of things that you are things to look into is room and board is one. So cost of the dormitory, the cost of the your meal plans. Those are two things that can affect the cost of the institution. My daughter she graduated from Stephen F. Austin. So the first year that she went to Stephen F. Austin, the dorm rooms were probably like about maybe 1,500 a semester. Okay. Before she left, the dorm rooms that she selected was 2,500 per. It was a little bit over 2,500 semester. So when we got ready to start making the plans to pay it, or after financial aid has paid what it needed to pay, um, we had to look into okay, so she was going to this dorm room that was maybe semi-private, so again the cost of it went higher. But as far as her meal plan, we looked at the meal plan because she wasn't going to the cafeteria as much. We reduced her meal plan. So it depends on what you're going to be doing on campus as far as where your meal plan, because some meal plans are 7 days a week. Then you have some meal plans that are 5 days a week. Then you have meal plans that are, 3 days, you have a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner, or you only have 3 days of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it depends on you as an individual, as far as the meal plans is concerned, the room and board. Then you also have your fees. So the luxury colleges, they have weight room. They have let's think about other fees that come in. Book fees, that you have rec fees, you have student life fees, so you have organization fees. So there's different fees that are inputted into the cost of the tuition. Um, that makes the determination of how expensive or how low the cost of your tuition will be.
All righty then. Well, everyone, it's the roadmap to college. Financial aid part two has come to an end. I want to thank you, Christina. Came through, girl.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. It's really appreciated. And to anyone who watches the video, just know that you can't wait till the last minute to fully get accepted in the school and get your financial aid done. Please take heed to our videos, and we look forward to next year as we update you for the roadmap to college. Thank you and have a great night. Bye.
Bye bye.